A fire broke out at a Philadelphia bus depot. Some buses were diesel, some were electric. But the real story here isn't just what caught fire, it's how they were parked, and why this entire setup was a third alarm fire just waiting to happen. You found Stashed. I'm Pat, firefighter, mechanical engineer, and battery guy. This fire broke out at 6 a.m. Fire crews were dispatched to the SEPTA Midvale Depot in Philadelphia. Thick black smoke was already rising over the Nicetown neighborhood. Within an hour, the call had escalated to a third alarm. More than 100 firefighters responded. These buses were out of service, some slated to be scrapped, others waiting to be moved. And yet this turned into a multi-agency response with hazmat teams, ladder trucks, multiple engines, and lots of personnel. They were issuing air quality warnings to the public. Let's start with the obvious. The way these buses were parked. Totally unacceptable. This is an older satellite image of the Midvale Depot, and it appears that most of these were Proterra electric buses, and they're all lined up in the lot. Bumper to bumper, side by side, no gaps, no breaks, no fire lanes, just a tight grid of high-dollar vehicles all shoved together. Fire crews couldn't even get close. One engine had to spray a master stream over a wooded lot just to reach the fire. That's not firefighting, that's desperation. And it's exactly what happens when you have zero access and no plans for containment. And this isn't on the firefighters. Now, it's worth mentioning, these Proterra buses, they have a bit of a history in Philly. Back in 2016, SEPTA ordered 25 Proterra catalyst electric buses through a federal grant. By 2017, they were on the road running routes in South Philly. But just a few years later, in 2020, every single one was pulled from service after cracks were found in the chassis. Proterra claimed these weren't structural, but SEPTA wasn't taking any chances. The buses were parked, and they stayed parked. Then in 2023, Proterra went bankrupt, and they shut down its bus manufacturing operation altogether. So now SEPTA's stuck with a fleet of electric buses that aren't in service, have no manufacturer support, and now may be the cause of a major fire. Over 40 buses were destroyed, 15 of those buses were electric. Now, to be fair, we don't know what started this fire. Could have been arson. Could have been at fault inside one of these parked vehicles. SEPTA says it was a mix of diesel and electric buses, so we're not pointing fingers at any specific bus just yet. But let's be honest. If the entire lot had been filled with diesel buses, they could have sat there for a century and probably just rusted. They would have rusted away. Diesel buses don't spontaneously ignite when they're parked long term. Electric buses, however, they're an entirely different beast. Even when they're powered off, unplugged, and at a low state of charge, the lithium-ion batteries still hold energy. They don't need a spark, they just need the right failure conditions. And one of the most common triggers, moisture intrusion. Water gets into the compromised battery pack, maybe a cracked housing, maybe a bad seal, and with roof-mounted batteries, condensation from daily hot-cold cycles is really common. With enough moisture, things start shorting out inside that pack, you get corrosion, and that's how out of nowhere you get thermal runaway. Even from a bus that hasn't been moved in months. The real problem here is that when one bus goes up, there's no chance of containing it. No spacing, no isolation, no room for fire crews to operate. You had electric buses and diesel buses parked side by side. The radiant heat doesn't discriminate. Once that chain reaction starts, it's over. This wasn't just predictable, it was preventable. The way this lot was laid out was guaranteed that a single fire would turn into a full alarm incident, and that's exactly what happened here. And look, this is not just Philly. We're seeing more and more of these storage yard fires where vehicles are packed in tightly, ignored for months, and then somehow everybody's surprised when a fire takes off like a wildfire. Whether it's junked EVs, hybrids, or overflow parking for fleet vehicles, these sites need basic protection. They need separation, access lanes, monitoring, and if electric vehicles are involved, even more care is needed. The investigation is underway. We'll eventually find out whether this was arson, a battery failure, or something else entirely. But we don't need to wait for that to call out the real problem here. This wasn't about if a fire would happen, this was about when. The way those buses were packed in made this a guaranteed 3-alarm fire. And for a major transit agency like SEPTA, that's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. Out of service or not, diesel or electric, it doesn't matter. When you cram that many vehicles into a tight, inaccessible grid, you're not just parking buses, you're stockpiling fuel. And eventually, something's going to light the match.